Hello there, I'm Jamie Adams.
And I'm Oliver Kinner.
And I'm Ian McAllister, and this is Brainwaves episode 145, bringing you the best in tabletop gaming news. These are the headlines for the week of the 24th of June, 2024. Spiel spills its 2024 selection. Does Meeple merit a monopoly? And Hachette becomes a king. All this and more on this episode of Brainwaves.
In a live stream on Tuesday, the 11th of June, chairman of the German Spiel des Jahres organization, Harald Schrapers, and coordinator of the Kinderspiel jury, Christoph Schliwensky, announced the nominations of the organization's 3 annual board game awards, the Spiel des Jahres, which is the main award, the Kinderspiel des Jahres, literally translated as Children's Game of the Year, but more like a family game award, and finally, the Kennerspiel des Jahres, which is often translated as the Connoisseur's Game of the Year, but probably more about games for people who are familiar with the hobby, but not necessarily like expert gamers. Every year, a panel of judges nominate games that were released in German in the preceding 12 months. For 2024, the nominations are as follows. Auf den Wegen von Darwin, In the Footsteps of Darwin, by Gregory Groud and Matthew Verdier, published by Sorry We Are French. Captain Flip by Paolo Mori and Remo Consadori, published by Playpunk. And Sky Team by Luc Raymond, published by Cosmos Scorpio Mask. For Kinderspiel des Jahres, we have Große kleine Edelsteine by Wolfgang Borsch, published by Schmidt Spiele. Die magischen Schlüssel, Magic Keys by Markus Slavicek and Arno Steinwender, published by Game Factory, Happy Baobab. Taco Katze Pizza Jr., Taco Cat Pizza Jr., by David Campbell and Thierry Denoil, published by Blue Orange Games. And finally, for the Kennerspiel des Jahres, we have Emission Daybreak by Matt Leacock and Matteo Menepace, published by Schmidt Spiele. Die Gilde der fahrenden Händler, The Guild of Merchant Explorers by Matthew Dunstan and Brett J. Gilbert from Skellig Games and AEG. And Zug um Zug Legacy, Legenden des Westens, Ticket to Ride Legacy, Legends of the West by Rob Davio, Matt Leacock and Ellen R. Moon, published by Days of Wonder. There's also a long list of games for each of the 3 awards, which you can find on the website, which we'll link to in our show notes. The winners will be announced at the award ceremony in Berlin, starting at 6 p.m. local time on Sunday, the 21st of July. Of course, always great to see an organization promoting the hobby to a wider audience, but unfortunately, things aren't all rosy. During the live stream, Harald Schrapers highlighted the continuing lack of women in the board game industry. He said that out of the 351 games that the jury looked at, only 2.6% of them had female designers. It is clear that more work needs to be done. However, the Brainwaves team still congratulates all the nominees.
Ryan Dancy, get on those games, games with designers. Come on.
And if you don't know what Jamie's referring to, please listen to the last episode of the Brainwaves podcast.
And the one before that. Oh, yeah, exactly.
Sorry, Oliver. Sorry, I cut in there. I was being stupid.
That's right.
Apologies.
No, it's absolutely a fair point. I think that's what Harald Schrapers is also pointing out. And Elizabeth Hargrave.
It's interesting that he's not actively calling that out.
Yeah.
Sorry, Oliver, what were you saying about Elizabeth Hargrave?
Elizabeth Hargrave obviously points those things out as well. I think she was looking at awards nominations and things and getting the figures out of there to see whether there's any non-male or specifically female designers mentioned or anything. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of interesting little choices in there, I think. Like, the Ticket to Ride Legacy is kind of an interesting one, because I think that game was not widely greatly received by the sort of critical community, certainly. And I don't know, has there been a Legacy game before in the Spiel des Jahres nominations? I've got a feeling there was.
Probably.
But not many.
Yeah.
Not many, certainly.
But also, Ian, don't listen to the critics. I say this is the only one who doesn't critically review board games on this podcast.
I have actually played one of these, Guild of Merchant Explorers. I have actually played.
Oh, have you? Okay.
Yeah. I played at Aircon earlier in the year. It's quite interesting. It's kind of a sort of roll and write format, but it doesn't involve actually writing things down. Okay. It's got a sort of like flip card mechanic thing where you're placing like little things on this map to establish
things where you
Sort
put
of
things on things.
colonies and like sort of like a sort of bit of area control kind of thing on your own little individual map, and trying to get to certain places on the map by sort of like piecing these things together, much like you might do on like a sort of like roll and write if you're like writing on a map. It's got that kind of feel to it. But it's got the feel of a roll and write, but isn't actually a roll and write, if you know what I mean.
I've not played Taco Ketsa Pizza Junior. I've played Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza, which is the older version of the game. I played a lot at work, and some of my family really like it. And it's really simple and really silly, and it's a good laugh. I think a version of it getting the Kinderspiel. Brilliant.
I mean, my predictions in there would be Sky Team for the Spiel des Jahres, because that's been everywhere. Really well regarded.
Mm-hmm.
I think Daybreak, just mostly because of its theme. I mean, the game's been well received, but like, sort of the theme is very relevant right now. I would imagine Daybreak might win the Kinderspiel. No idea. I've got no predictions for Kinderspiel because I don't know any of those games.
I mean, to be fair, normally we get these games announced and none of us have played any of these games. So the fact that at least one game has been played is, this is a good step for us. And, the games... Oh, you go, sorry.
No, that's fine. I was just going to say, obviously, looking at especially the Kinderspiel des Jahres nominations, having something like Ticket to Ride in there, even though it's a legacy game, people always say it's the expert games, and it's not for expert gamers. Clearly, that games. You can see what the jury is aiming at, or what Spiel des Jahres is aiming at for Kennerspiel. It's more for people who maybe have played some of the other games in the past and want something slightly, next level up, so to speak. I don't want to compare things, what is a better, worse, harder, more gamery game or not, but these games definitely aren't for experts. Something like Daybreak, something like the Guild of Merchant Explorers, you can see the type of gamers or people. We
spoke to Martina Fuchs, who was from the Spiel committee last year. I don't know if she's still part of that committee. I think she is.
She is, she is.
So we'll put a link to that in the show notes, and you can listen to our interview with Martina, who sort of explains better than we can exactly what the sort of Spiel is about. But like Oliver says, like the Spiel isn't like, it's not meant to be the game of games of the year. It's the Spiel, the Jahres committee is trying to like sort of like put games out there that lots of people can appreciate and like to bring people into the hobby. And because the German culture is much different than ours with our attitude to board games, the attitude to awards is different as well.
Yeah. And one thing I do want to point out as well, what's quite key here, you may expect certain games being nominated in potentially these categories, even though knowing what they're for. But there's another sort of criteria behind the scenes. So all of these games, the idea is one of them will obviously win the award in each category. And that means it needs to be available for sale. So these games will have been, printed in large quantities probably already. So even if you think of a game that might be a better nomination in one of these categories, if it's not available in the mass market, then it's not going to be nominated. So that's another thing to bear in mind with these nominations, which I found quite interesting. I only found out recently that that's how this works. So, once the nominations have been announced, then once the winner's been announced, they want to obviously have those games ready, available for purchase in shops, in stores. So there's a certain bit of, logistics behind the scenes happening, and not every publisher can, have their games nominated because of that.
And I'm not going to say that one of the main reasons we have you on the podcast, Oliver, is to absolutely show us how to properly pronounce, German words. Because I believe you basically took this straight from the live stream, from the announcement, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, Mother. They published it on their website as well. The list.
Okay, that's fantastic.
I didn't actually.
But also you're showing us. That's fine. That's good. I didn't want you to do that, but showing us how to actually do this, and because in the past we've had some quite shocking pronunciations. So,
especially this year, so there's quite a lot of German names for the games. So I tried to find the English equivalent where there is an English game, but not all of them have that.
It's absolutely hugely appreciated. Also, I seem to notice in the Kinderspiel especially, there doesn't usually seem to be an English translation of the name.
No,
a lot of the time you will see it, but it's very particular, that one. And I think just because children's games are a much bigger thing in Europe, in Germany especially.
Yeah, I think so. And more specifically aimed at kids. There's probably more words and text in there, so maybe they don't translate as easily. Speaking of game-related Meeple things, Ian?
Just before we recorded the last episode of the cast, news had reached us that the publisher, which was called Cogito Ergo Meeple at the time, had received a cease and desist notification in relation to their game Meeple Inc. The notification was issued by Hans im Glück, a subsidiary of Asmodee, which owns the trademark to the word Meeple in Europe and Germany. The word refers to the wooden player tokens that look like little people and first appeared in Carcassonne in 2000. Now, you may be thinking that the word is so ubiquitous in the hobby that such a trademark would be impossible. However, Hans im Glück was able to successfully register a trademark for the term Meeple in February 2019 with the EU's Patent and Trademark Office. The original application was made in June 2017 and originally refused in 2018, but after amending it, the trademark was granted 1.5 years later. The EU trademark covers a wide range of types of products, including software, computers, smartphones, and smartphone accessories, jewellery, watches, keyrings, books, magazines, stickers, crockery, clothing, and many more. Most importantly, though, the EU trademark does not cover toys and games. However, Hans im Glück successfully registered the trademark in Germany on the 2nd of February 2021, and the trademark there does cover toys and games. While the origins of the term Meeple aren't 100% certain, our research showed that the word seemed to have been created in 2000 on a Yahoo forum by someone with the name Alison Hansel. In response to the cease and desist letter, Cogito Ergo Meeple renamed itself Cotswold Games, and the owners, Joe and Maddie Adams, posted this as an update on their GameFound campaign for Meeple Inc.
We are a little surprised as the term is used so frequently in the hobby. We thought Meeples belonged to all board gamers. It appears they don't. We, of course, have zero interest in using anyone else's IP, so we think the best option is to do as they ask. Fortunately, whilst it creates a fair amount of work for us in the short term, this will not affect the game very much. All gameplay will remain exactly the same, and the artwork will only be changed to replace the Meeples with our new characters. Moomins. But more on them in a moment.
It is not clear why Hans im Glück have sent a cease and desist letter to Cotswold Games, but not other companies. A quick search that Oliver's done shows that there are a number of German companies and websites that use the term Meeple, and there are games on the German market that have the term in their name. Yet they don't seem to have been contacted by Hans im Glück about it. Here are some examples. Happy Meeple, a website where you can play many board games online. Meeplebox, an online board game store. Meeple King, a web store for board game accessories. Meeple Circus from Matago and distributed in Germany by Pegasus Spiel, a dexterity game in which you do what all gamers do when setting up a game. Meeple Land from Blue Orange Games and available in Germany, a game where you build the most renowned amusement park of all time. Understandably, many in the community have expressed surprise that the 2019 trademark hasn't been the subject of legal action before now. Yet it seems other companies have tried to trademark the term Meeple in the past. A search of the EU's Patent and Trademark Office's register shows that on the 20th of January 2021, a Belgian company called Silvestre Events BV tried to register Meeple as a Dutch trademark. Of course, Hans im Glück successfully blocked the trademark registration on the 17th of May 2021. Now, in another slight twist to this story, on the 30th of May 2024, Corey Thompson, co-owner of the YouTube channel Above Board TV, and Marion McBride, Gen Con's event manager, applied for a trademark for the term Meeple in the US. The application is still awaiting examination, but we'll give you an update as soon as we hear more. Thanks to Adam Richards from our Discord for bringing this to our attention. It's kind of an interesting one, this. I think the entire community were taken aback by the fact that Meeple had been trademarked at all in any way or form.
Yeah.
It's also a weird one, so when obviously the Meeples first appeared in Carcassonne in 2000, but they weren't called that at the time. Phrase was coined a little bit later by the person we mentioned earlier in the cast, and then the registration of the trademark isn't till 17 years later, and it doesn't actually happen until 19 years later, which is quite a thing. And I do wonder what prompted the sudden we should have this as a trademark. Also, with my understanding of trademark and copyright law is not perfect by any means, but my understanding is that you kind of need to defend it quite vigorously if you want it to stand up in any way or form, which is why companies go after people all the time. And it's weird to me that it hasn't been defended before now. And as you pointed out, as you did the research, Oliver, there are a bunch of other companies in Germany with Meeple in the title.
I think that's what sort of surprised me the most, that it seems to be very selective. And I don't really understand for this game, Meeple Inc., especially that, I don't well, I haven't looked in detail, but I don't think it specifically mentions it's going to be published in Germany or specifically in Europe. Now with Brexit, UK isn't part of the EU. So I don't know. It just seems very weird why that game has been picked. And then as a result, why the company changed the name to Cotswold. Was it Cotswold Games?
Cotswold Games, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just bizarre. And as you say, I can understand maybe why they might want to trademark the shape of the meeple as a unique thing for the game, but not necessarily the term. It's just, yeah, I really don't understand. And again, as you say, I'm not a trademark solicitor or expert or anything, but looking at this, it feels like you could still publish a game anywhere in the world. There are probably other trademarks somewhere else, but except in Germany, where it's registered as a toys and games trademark. But even in the rest of the EU, it looks like you could potentially still publish the game with that name. I don't know.
I mean, it kind of falls into maybe the kind of generic trademark, like a bracket, because like you said, it's a word that was coined, and then many years later, it was as we've said, it's been copyrighted and trademarked. But at the point, and as we said, listen, Cotswold Games may not be the only company that is dealing with this. They might just be the most public one.
Yeah.
It's entirely possible that, for example, Go with Meeple Circus, they may have had like a thing from Hans and Gluck, and they're going, yeah, we're just going to deal with this quietly. And games
it's entirely possible there's things we haven't seen and we haven't heard or seen. Yeah, you're right.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. We'll bring updates to you folks as we hear them. But yeah, if you're planning to go to Kickstarter with your game with Meeple and title, maybe you want to rethink that.
Or if you're listening to this and you have a knowledge of some kind of copyright law, please let us know, because we'd like to know about this.
Or if you've heard of any other instance where Hans and Gluck have issued cease and desist letters, we'd really like to know. You can contact us and we'll keep your identity anonymous if you want. I'll
need to speak to friend of the cast, Sam Maggs, because way back when in the distant past, we had a very short-lived podcast called the Meeple People Podcast. And I wonder if Sam has had any emails from Hans and Gluck.
Let's see.
Entirely possible. Anyway, Jamie, news from UK publishers instead.
Yes, moving from Germany to the UK. Hachette Boardgames UK, a distributor of over 150 games in the UK and a subsidiary of Hachette UK, has announced they're partnering with Laurence King Publishing, one of the world's leading publishers of creative illustrated books, gifts and games, and part of the Orion Publishing Group. The partnership will see Laurence King's series of board games, card games and puzzles enter distribution through Hachette Boardgames UK. Now, the Laurence King game line offers a multitude of mainly family-friendly titles, often based on TV series, films or books, kind of more IP-based. One such title is The Shakespeare Game, in which players put on a series of Shakespeare's greatest plays in a bid to found the Globe Theatre and stage a performance there. Now, Philip Contos, deputy publisher at Laurence King, said of the partnership,
"We're thrilled to be working alongside Hachette Boardgames UK to bring our flourishing games and puzzle range to a wider audience by expanding our distribution. Their passion for bringing families to the gaming table is one we share at Laurence King, and we're proud to offer titles that do exactly that."
So the Shakespeare Game is not to be confused with the Starry Games Shakespeare, which came out about 8 or 9 years ago, which I have, which is lovely, which is you are putting on a Shakespearean play. This one, as I've seen in bookshops, which lots of bookshops are available, where you go around London and you're getting themes and characters for a play in a similar manner to Starry Games Shakespeare, but very different. I've not played the Shakespeare game. I'd like to play it. And of course, Shakespeare is out of copyright because he's been dead a long time.
Hachette are one of those publishers that have just been growing and growing and growing over the last couple of years. And they burst onto the scene, 3-4 years ago now? And just have been, they've been accelerating. I spoke to Flavien Lossier at UK Games Expo, and I said to him, every time he's going to be taking over Expo next year at this rate. He had a huge UK Games Expo this year.
Really?
And just every time we see them, they've got a bigger stand, more presence, more games. Rob Trounce, who's now their sort of PR guy, is really, really good at selling their games with really good pitches. We followed myself and Rich Stokes, who was a temporary member of the Giant Brain team for UK Games Expo, rode around on Matt Thrower's coattails for a little while, and we got a good look through a lot of the upcoming games for Hachette over the next little while. And it was really interesting.
I guess I had the same experience as you. It's basically I had an appointment with him, and it was 1 hour, and I thought we're just going to have a quick chat for 15-20 minutes. And an hour later, I basically had a full tour of the stand, saw all the games. He was very good. And Yeah, and there's loads more where on the stand that he didn't actually talk to me about in detail. And yeah, just looking back a few years when there seemed to be very new and trying something out to now distributing over 150 games, it's just amazing. And it's good to see. And don't get me wrong, you have lots of other publishers from elsewhere in the EU now being easily available in the UK. And it's just great to see that this company is doing so well. So yeah, good on them.
I would also add that Rich Stokes is a frequently contributing member of the Giant Brain team, but maybe not in the formats that you're used to. It's usually some opinions on the Discord and stuff, which may influence some of Ian's articles or reviews or indeed our discussions.
Entirely possible.
And he featured on the latest episode of the Brainwaves podcast as well, the live interviews.
Yeah, on the Expo special, Rich and I did a couple of sort of roundups of the days as we were wandering around the halls. And Oliver's on that one as well.
Yes.
Anyway, we're going to move on to some updates from our previous episodes.
A couple of episodes ago, we covered the acquisition of the Gamer Network by IGN. Gamer Network owns several gaming-related sites, including PC games site Rock, Paper Shotgun, and tabletop game site Dicebreaker. Although the Dicebreaker site may continue under IGN's ownership, the core staff that ran the site have been fired. The editor, Matt Jarvis, staff writer Alex Meehan, and video producer Michael Whelan have all been fired. Whelan tweeted,
"No idea what IGN will do with the brand in the future, but if you haven't already been able to tell from the multiple layoffs and no posts, the Dicebreaker as you knew it is no more."
At the time of recording, we don't know if Dicebreaker will return at all. Now, this is obviously sad news. I think we talked about before that there's AI stuff involved, and who knows whether the new website is literally just written by computers and not potentially edited just by one person or something. I don't know.
At the moment, Dicebreaker is basically just not updated at all, the site. Who knows? So we don't know what
There has been one update in about the past month, and it's a sponsored how to play a new trading card game.
Sure, so effectively dead in terms of up-to-date journalism at the moment.
How long it keeps the site itself will keep on, we don't know. We don't know what we can't imagine what IGN is thinking, but it is a sad blow to the loss of tabletop journalism.
I mean, I think IGN are thinking we're going to buy a rival, shut them down, and then continue to do weird stuff on our site.
I'd make a comment that I've been told I'm too political. No politics in board games, please. I don't politics in board games.
I mean, it is really sad because Dicebreaker were one of the few sites remaining that did some proper journalism. I mean, we are amateurs at best. We do our best to sort of bring you all the news that we can and take some time to try and get you interviews and that kind of thing that other people don't bring you. But we don't have the time. We all have busy lives outside of Brainwaves. We'd love to dedicate. Well, then you should get on doing some more interviews, shouldn't you? But no, we genuinely don't have the time to do the work that we'd really, really like to do. If we got paid for this, then maybe we would, but we don't. So yeah, we just do what we can. Obviously, there's Board Game Wire. I met Mike from Board Game Wire at UKGE, so it was really nice to meet him in the flesh because we've corresponded a little bit online. And Mike is doing really good work over at Board Game Wire. That's definitely worth checking out. But there are very few places doing actual journalism and actually bringing up problems in the industry, because guess what, if you've been listening to the Brainwaves podcast for the last 145 episodes, you'll know that the board game industry is not all roses and sunshine.
Doesn't need to be 145. You've been listening for the last 2 or 3 episodes. This is your first episode. I think you can tell.
Yeah,
but it's that journalism piece, as you say. We obviously, as you say, we're trying to do what we can, but we're reporting what we hear. We're not actively going out. I mean, one of the earlier stories said we were researching stuff, but we're Googling things and we're looking a bit further. But we're not spending days and weeks, chasing a story and making sure we get all the different sources. So, proper journalism in that sense.
We have some contact, but very limited. Not the ins and the access to press releases that a lot of bigger sites have. So Rascal, fantastic. Rascal doing great RPG focused news and features. So have a look at them. That's really nice. They're really good.
Yeah, I'm a subscriber to Rascal now. There are some free articles on Rascal, but a lot of it's behind a paywall that you do have to subscribe to. But that's how a lot of like decent journalism is going now, is like small teams that need your support. And Rascal is doing a lot of really good work. Lynn Kadega, who has been on the cast before talking about the OGL at the start of last year, and Chase Carter, who did some writing for Dicebreaker, did some freelancing for Dicebreaker, I would say. But yeah, did write for Dicebreaker, is writing for Rascal as well, and they're covering a lot of good stuff. And it's not just RPG stuff as well. Like they covered like Wonders of the First recently, which we covered on the last cast, that kind of thing. So they're covering. I think they're starting to spread out a little bit now as the site grows. So yeah, there's some really good writing over there. Please do go and check them out.
In the meantime, we've got some more Evil updates, Ian.
Yes, Evil Genius Games are going to live up to at least half of their name, and it's not the clever bit. In episode 131 and 136 of the cast, we reported on the battles between RPG publisher Evil Genius Games and the streaming platform Netflix. That fight was over a Rebel Moon RPG based on the Zack Snyder film of the same name. We followed that up with reports of staff not getting paid and the head of the company's drive to integrate AI and NFTs. That's non-fungible tokens. Around that time, they issued a statement saying that was not their intention. Turns out it kind of was, though. Rascal News have reported that the company are pressing ahead with the integration of NFTs into their future role-playing games. These plans were revealed at Consensus 2024, a show that
brings together all sides of the cryptocurrency, blockchain, and Web3 community.
Dave Scott, CEO of Evil Genius Games, pitched to a panel there, saying,
"What we're really excited about is the idea that we can use blockchain to be able to control the value and to create value around the objects which make up your character. That's going to be a really important component of it. If you actually create, for example, an adventure on our system, that'll be something that you own as the creator from here on out."
The article goes on to show that Scott plans to turn into tradable digital assets all aspects of a character sheet and leverage the IPs they already have to attract people to the products. EN World also reported on the almost total collapse of Evil Genius Games earlier in the year. We urge you to give both sites a read and your support, and we'll put links to both those in the show notes. The Rascal News article is not behind a paywall, so you'll be able to go and read that. I mean, if most of what that guy said at that conference didn't make you throw up in your mouth a little, then I don't know what to say. It's terrible. Like, I've read the whole article, and basically he's going on about like, you can have like, because they've got licenses to things like Escape from New York and Rambo and things like that as RPGs. That's sort of 80s action hero kind of thing. That's what they're about a lot. And he's going on about like, you can have, Rambo's gun or blah, blah, blah. And this is like, yeah, but you can do that anyway in an RPG. I don't have to pay you money.
Yeah, I don't know much about RPGs, but me reading out that quote from Dave Scott, it just made no sense whatsoever. So are you trying to create value out of what?
Yes, that's exactly what he's trying to do. He's trying to mint all aspects of it. I'm sorry, I was listening to you reading that, Oliver, and I had my head in my hands.
Yeah, but basically what he's saying is like, if you create a character in like, say it was Dungeons and Dragons that had this, okay? So you create like a ranger or whatever, and you have a special bow or whatever, you'll be able to mint that bow as an NFT, like make it a one-time thing, and then basically be able to sell it on their digital marketplace. But why would you do that?
Never mind
I
that.
have no idea.
Totally easy to copy. Never mind that NFT's been shown time and time again to be a massive, massive fraud and incredibly ecologically appalling. And the blockchain cryptocurrency has been a time and time again to use to fund people and organizations who will not take a second thought about stripping everything away from you and leaving you to choke and die in the gutter.
Okay.
A bit harsh, but not entirely untrue. Anyway, talking about people who are a bit harsh, Jamie.
I'm going to center myself again. Over a wee while now, we've been covering the evolving story of Tabletop Workers United, a branch of Workers United, New York, New Jersey. Tabletop Workers United is the emerging trade union of several board game cafes in Brooklyn, New York, including Hex & Co., The Brooklyn Strategist, and The Uncommons. On the 5th of June, they began negotiations regarding contracts with the owners of the 5 biggest board game cafes in New York City, including the 3 previously named, John Freeman and Gregory May. Collective bargaining negotiations began with Freeman and May's lawyer, Andrew Andy Hoffman, strolling in 15 minutes late and conducting the negotiations with what Rowan Zioli in Rascal described as
a combative and dismissive attitude
in what appears to be the latest of a series of attacks. Previously in negotiations, Hoffman reportedly told the bargaining committee,
"You should all burn in hell,"
and called the members
disgusting
and
low-class disgusting morons
during ongoing negotiations. Although according to Freeman and May, these comments were related to suggestions regarding Workers United and tweets made on the account without union approval. Now, there will be no further in-person negotiations for 4 months, as Freeman and Hoffman are on holiday. Meetings will still be held on Zoom. The Hoffman has rejected a request to record the meetings from the union, stating a
chilling effect
and
an unfair labour practice
by recording bargaining meetings, as people should be able to be
free to speak their minds.
Now, what that means, we're not going to speculate here. But Hoffman has described the demands previously as
the insanity of the woke.
Further proof that although they have been recognised, the road for trade unions is always rocky, especially when bosses do not want to meet their workers even halfway. Rascal, as we've said before, have been doing a great job on reporting the many trials and tribulations of this. We will link to a free article in the show notes, which is the one that we have just been discussing here. There are previous ones which are behind a paywall, which go on to about a month or 2 ago, some more of the situations, and go into some more things that Hoffman is said to have said to the bargaining committee.
Yeah, now I have read that. The quotes we had in there were from a Twitter post that the union put out as well, but I have read the whole article. We didn't want to quote from that article because we felt ethically odd about quoting from something that's behind a paywall from a site that's really trying to do some good journalism and needs your support in order to actually do that journalism in the first place. So that's why we're not quoting directly from that article, but I do personally support Rascal. Please go and read their stuff and give them some money if you can. You can give them monthly or a yearly subscription. By the way, our podcast is not sponsored by Rascal, much as we've sung their praises, but we just think they're doing really good work, and individual places like this need your support. Yeah. If you're after a computer game site that does the same, Aftermath are pretty good, who are Luke Plunkett and a few others who do really good computer game journalism, and they're doing a similar thing to Rascal, so do go and check them out as well.
And speaking of people who need your support, if you want, even following Tabletop Workers United on Twitter and trying to give them a bit of support as much as possible is fantastic. They're asking for, one of the big pay disputes is a New York City living wage of about $22.50 an hour. And the current minimum wage in New York or in the US is about $16 an hour. And New York being a massive metropolitan metropolis, I can't think of the words. They're asking for a bit of dignity, a bit of money to actually be able to live beyond just living paycheck to paycheck.
They're not asking for a lot. They do need support, and them having a big social media following can really, really help. So do go and follow those on your social media platform of choice.
Yes, and support your trade unions wherever they may be.
And join one if you can.
Yes. Now moving on to the news.
Now, we're not done with UK Games Expo. We've reported on it a few times on this cast and last cast, and we just mentioned the podcast episode that you can listen to as well. Now, the People's Choice Awards were announced at the close of UK Games Expo. Voted on by attendees, the 19 categories cover the sheer breadth of games on display and sale. Now, we won't cover all the winners here, but some special mentions being made to Lacuna by Mark Garretts, which won Best Abstract Game, and Spots by Alex Haig, John Perry, Justin Vickers, which won Best Dice Game, and Salvage Union, published by Leyline Press, which won Best Role-Playing Game.
Yeah, I mean, the People's Choice Awards stuff, I don't object to too much. I mean, regular listeners will have heard me complain about the lack of ambition in the UK Games Expo and the main awards, where they could be an actual celebration of UK gaming and are actually just a celebration of what's on display at the con.
And if you're listening, UK Games Expo organisers, hi there.
Hi. Thanks very much for the press passes, but also get your awards sorted out. God damn it. But yeah, I mean, Lacuna is a game I own. I think it's great. Really interesting abstract game. Really good fun. We've played Spots, Jamie and I,
yes.
In Ancient Robot Games.
I know you were charmed
your local
by
game
it.
store. Yeah, I was really charmed by it. It's a really cool little sort of dice placement game with like really cool dogs and a cow that is definitely a dog. Honest
He's
governor.
a Frisian milk hound, and I won't hear any different.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a copy of Soundless Union from Leyland Press for first read review and eventual play as well. I'm currently working my way through that at the moment. It's a game. It's an RPG about sort of post-apocalyptic. You've all got your own individual mechs, and you're going out from like a big sort of main mech that is wandering the wastelands, sort of gathering scrap to upgrade your civilization and help out and sort of sort out bits and pieces across the wasteland. It's interesting, yeah. I'll be doing a first read of that in the not too distant future up on the site, and then get some play of it later in the year.
Good stuff. I mean, as you say, I think People's Choice Awards are a nice idea. It's nice to see what people actually like. It's always a good thing. I think a bit like the Spiel Awards that's coming up as well, that voted on by the public. So yeah, let's have more of those. But yeah, UK Games Expert, please sort out the actual awards and make something of it.
Please do. But moving away from the UK, as important as Spiel des Jahres is that we covered earlier in the cast, other European countries have their own awards as well. France has the As d'Or, and Portugal has got the Jogo do Ano, which announced its nominations recently. Both done by Spiel Portugal, the games nominated are Evacuation, Hegemony, Nucleum, Horseless Carriage, and Scholars of the South Tigris. As you can see from the nominees, the Jogo do Ano leans towards what some would call the sort of heavier side of the gaming table. Winners are to be announced in either September or October. I've not played any of these. Anybody else?
Nope.
I played, well, I always pronounce it hegemony, but
I would still know. Thank you, Oliver, for coming in and proving that at least with you on this podcast, at least one person has played at least one of the nominated games.
Hegemony, let's call the whole thing off.
All right, bye.
When I say I played it, I never actually played a full game because it's such a long game. But it's good fun. We have
partially played one of the nominees.
Yeah, exactly. And I watched a playthrough of Horseless Carriage. Does that count?
Yes.
I'm going to say no.
I believe Nucleum is from the publishers or the designers that did Barrage a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it is. It's getting a lot of like, this is like the new Brass kind of vibes to it from the reviews I've seen. Okay. Like it's got that kind of thing to it.
And by the name, if you may be able to gather, Scholars of the South Tigris is from Garp Hill Games, who have done things like the North Sea series, like Rages of the North Sea.
Which I really like.
The West Kingdom, is that the other one?
Yeah.
West Kingdom series,
yeah.
I like the series of games, like 3 or 4 of each.
East will come next. That's the idea, isn't it? North, West, South. And then,
I didn't even consider that, yeah.
And then they'll go to space. Anyway, some sad news from a publisher.
In a statement dated 6th of June 2024, Rudy Sointjens from Brewer, a Belgium-based board game publisher that started around 7 years ago, announced that the company is going to close down. Known for games such as Gugong, Paris, Amygdala, and most recently Algae Inc., Brewer pointed to increasingly competitive market conditions that have made it challenging for the company to remain profitable. In their statement, Rudy thanked all of the company's fans and explained what happens next.
Bone Wars, Algae Inc. and the Stroganoff Big Box will be our final releases. These games are currently in production and will soon be available in very limited quantities. Rest assured, all our crowdfunding backers will receive their pledged games.
Rudy also asked everyone for support and help the company wind down without being in debt.
Despite careful planning, we find ourselves with a stock of 9,000 board games. To ensure we can settle all our obligations, including author license fees, and conclude our adventure debt-free, we need your help in purchasing this stock. Because we are offering competitive discounts and it is the very last time we will be appealing for your support, we are calling the stock sale our Goodbye campaign. That's GOODBUY.
All games, except new releases, are available at a 25% discount, and previous crowdfunding supporters are entitled to additional discounts. In closing, Rudy says,
"Thank you for the amazing journey and your incredible support. Let's make these final moments memorable and ensure that Game Brewer ends on a high note."
There are no mention of redundancies or how many staff are affected, but the Brainwaves team hope that everyone can find work afterwards. And yet another publisher closing down due to economic pressure. And it's really sad to see, but unfortunately not unexpected.
You wonder how much of that is pressure brought on by their crowdfunding campaigns and maybe not getting the profits that they wanted from them. It sounds like they are still going to deliver, which is good, but maybe they're just like the profit margins have become so thin that they just can't really see a way through to continue.
I'm afraid.
I was going to say, it sounds like they're winding down in a sort of constructive way, which is rather than running all the money down and just disappearing with everything. So as you say, everyone will get their games, and in fact there's more games, so if you want to have a good discount, buy some of them. I've actually bought a handful of games, which always feels bad because it's like it's
what they asked you to
getting exactly, that's what I'm saying. So support them, get rid of the stock, and then they'll hopefully actually end up with a slight profit, who knows. But yeah, it's the end of Game Brewer, another publisher going out of business, unfortunately.
Sorry, I was going to say, I'm going to throw that slightly cynical bone in here and go, we really hope they'll be able to receive their pledge games, because unfortunately there is a track record now, quite a long track record of companies going bust and people not getting their pledged games.
Indeed. We're not done with things ending.
No, Atomic Mass Games, a publisher of a number of tabletop miniatures games and one of the studios owned by Asmodee, announced on the 13th of June the end of development of their Star Wars X-Wing and Star Wars Armada games. Star Wars X-Wing was first released in August 2012, and the second edition of the game came out in September 2018. Star Wars Armada was first published in 2015. Both games now come with a huge number of expansion packs that allow players to build their favorite Star Wars spaceship fleets. Quoting rising production costs as well as global manufacturing and pandemic-related challenges, the company said it had become very difficult to continue producing high-quality, pre-painted miniatures for these games. However, all is not lost. In the announcement, Atomic Mass Games said,
"Although development is ending, we are not stepping away from these games entirely. Atomic Mass Games will continue to support tournaments and organize play for both games, with OP kits to be found in your local shops, culminating in the Open World Championship at Adepticon in March 2025.
Atomic Mass Games finishes by thanking everyone for their continued support and dedication. Shortly after the announcement, a community group sprung up pledging to carry the game forward. They posted this to various groups around the internet.
Dear X-Wing community, by now most of you have read the news of AMG ending development of both Star Wars X-Wing and Star Wars Armada. After that news went public, a group of players representing communities across the world came together to create a unified organisation to take community stewardship of X-Wing. This group includes the people behind several high-profile X-Wing communities and resources, and our collaborative goal is to keep the game healthy and guide it into the future. This is not an exclusive or closed group, and we will strive for transparency at all times. Rest assured we will do our very best to make sure that the end of the official development does not mean the end of the game that we all love. We are still in the early stages of defining what needs to be done, and more communication will follow as the details become available. For now, keep playing the game, and look to the future with hope and anticipation. Today marks the start of a new chapter in the X-Wing story, and we are out to make it the best one yet. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, but communication will keep coming as soon as it is ready. May the Force be with us."
The post was signed by a number of groups from across the globe. I mean, I don't know too much about Atomic Mass Games, but it's clear that they've got a lot of products in their lineup, so I guess they're just trimming stuff down. I know there have been complaints by fans of X-Wing in the past that the company was slowing down supporting the game. I've actually had a guest post about this on my blog, so maybe it was on the cards for a while now. I don't really know. Do any of you know more about it?
I mean, Atomic Mass Games, off the top of my head, had, until recently, X-Wing, Armada, Shatterpoint, and Legion, which were all Star Wars games, and Legion and Shatterpoint were A, the newer ones, B, they're not pre-painted.
But the big one is Marvel Crisis Protocol. That's the big game.
Marvel Crisis Protocol.
Marvel Crisis Protocol is the main way that Atomic Mass Games make their money, for sure, without any question. I mean, I don't know how Shatterpoint's doing, but I think okay. Shatterpoint is basically kind of the Marvel Crisis Protocol, but in the Star Wars universe, it's got that kind of vibe to it. It's a different game mechanically, but it's got that kind of sort of like team vibey kind of thing to it. whereas Legion's a much more, not exactly mass battles, but it's closer to that kind of sort of
it's more of
40k
your
kind of vibe.
It's more of your Warhammer style, like say larger squads.
Sure.
If anyone is going, didn't these games used to be owned by Fantasy or published by Fantasy Flight Games?
Yes,
right. Several years ago, when Fantasy Flight Games was
gutted.
Gutted is one word, but it was restructured by Asmodee, and all its miniatures games went to Atomic Mass Games, and all its role-playing games went to Edge Publishing.
That's right. Yeah, and so like fan versions of games can survive. We've seen that most recently with Null Signal, Netrunner. There's also a company I saw at UK Games Expo called Black Chantry, who are carrying on the Vampire: The Eternal Struggle card game, and very well. And some interesting products there. However, with X-Wing, Star Wars is owned by Disney, who are much more litigious, and making cards relatively easy, making new miniatures and distributing them worldwide much harder. Very hard. Like at worst, you can do print and play cards if you want to keep a card game alive, right?
I was going to say,
I guess you could have 3D printed miniatures. That's a thing.
Yes, it is.
But again, Star Wars is owned by Disney and they're incredibly litigious. I don't see a fan continuation of that succeeding.
I was going to say that the way I was reading this was more about that they might still, hold competitions and championships.
Oh yeah, they could do that
sort of thing. Keep the community live rather than the game developed. Maybe, I don't know.
I agree, but I think with any if you've ever played any of these what might be called lifestyle games, where you sort of get into them and you need to sort of stay on top of the scene and what the meta is like and that kind of thing. They need new injection of things every now and again to keep the scene lively, to keep people interested. They can't really just coast along on older things all the time. They need new people coming in. They need the community to stay at least static or grow. And that requires sometimes new products as well as the community being supported. So yeah, I don't know. I hope that they can keep it going for the players that love it, but I can't see a fan continuation happening. Maybe the support will be enough, and they can sort of do some balance changes within that. I don't know.
I mean, again, based on the sort of blog post or the guest post I had, maybe it's more about sort of the rules tweaking the balance of different, starships and all that sort of thing. Again, I don't know. But as I say, I can't see them bringing out new miniatures, new models, new fighters, new whatever. It's going to be more about, tweaking the system and that sort of things.
There's a few people I knew who I still know. It's not that they died or anything. That played a lot of X-Wing, and the sheer breadth of miniatures that came out. All they need is cards to go, do you know what? This is actually something new. And the classic power creep that is evident in all this, the balancing that always goes on. Yeah, I think it's very easy to do that. I'm kind of certain they don't need to worry about miniatures, because if you're really, really into it, you will have such a suite of minis that all you need is cards to go, this is actually a new thing.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, we've got a couple of people on the move kind of posts for you folks. Now, on a Blue Sky post dated the 19th of June 2024, Liz Davidson, owner of media outlet Beyond Solitaire, which was a runner-up in this year's Golden Geek Awards for Best Podcast, and co-designer of a board game coming up called Night Witches, announced that she is joining Letter Games, publisher of games such as Vast Root, Oath, and Fort, as the solo game specialist. Liz said in our post,
I could not be more excited because I'm about to do very cool work with very cool people.
Leader Games responded to the news in a post on Twitter.
We are incredibly excited to have Liz join the team. Expect awesome things to come.
Yeah, that's good. I think Liz is going to be an amazing addition to that team. Yeah, she's always been very enthusiastic about the solo gaming. Her podcast, Beyond Solitaire, isn't about solo gaming. She interviews a wide range of people, quite a lot of people in the sort of war game scene and that kind of thing as well. And yeah, there's always really interesting guests on there. Do go and check that podcast out. It's really, really good. She's got an academic background as well. And Leader Games, a company that many on this cast love. I'm a great fan of their games. Got to play of Arcs, which is their new thing at Games Expo, and it is still in my head a bit. It's really good. I'm sure she's going to do some really interesting work for them. Brilliant.
I think solo games, or the solo modes of games, I'm trying to think. Later Games isn't necessarily known for solo modes or solo versions of the games.
Root Clockwork Companion.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's
stuff.
true.
And Oath has got like a Clockwork Chancellor kind of mode thing to it as well. Yep, I've never used it because I don't really play solo games, but it is in there.
But it does feel like they could definitely benefit for someone like Liz, with whatever qualifications she does have, but certainly as a solo game specialist, that seems like the perfect fit. Yeah. And by the sounds of it, she's really looking forward to it. And yeah, congratulations on getting that job. Well done.
Absolutely. I was about to say, have we on this podcast played all the later games output?
I haven't played Ahoy.
Okay,
I've played Ahoy.
You've played Ahoy?
Yeah.
Okay, and Ian, you've played Vast Crystal Caverns and Mysterious Mansion?
I have not played Mysterious Mansion. I've played Crystal Caverns. I've played Root. I've played Oath.
I've played the Mansion.
You played the Mansion? Right, okay. I've played all
I've played Arcs. Kind of.
Yeah.
I've played a couple of rounds.
I had a demo.
Okay, Cult of the New. Yeah, okay. So between us, between you two, basically,
we've experienced all of later
games. Okay.
Yeah.
We're big fans on this cast.
They're not bad.
I'm just a big fan of the way that they explain games and like give you player aids that are good.
Yeah, and how their names all have 4 letters in them.
Well, there's that too. Anyway,
the main selling point.
Moving on.
Warcradle Studios, the publishers of various skirmish miniature games including Dystopian Wars and Firestorm Armada, have made 2 new hires. James Hewitt and Sophie Wiliams are joining the team. Sophie joins as the game development manager. In Sophie's words, she will be
taking a key role in contributing to the design and development of Warcradle's games while also managing the team and leading in long-term planning and organization. I love organizing and scheduling, so this is a dream.
And James is joining as the lead game designer. James says of the job,
I'm leading the charge as part of the games development team. We're going to be responsible for creating, testing, and expanding a whole line of tabletop games set in the dystopian age. Not just Dystopian Wars, Wild West Exodus, Mythos, and Armored Clash, but also board games, card games, and role-playing games.
Now, James and Sophie are both veterans of the game scene in the UK, having previously worked for Games Workshop, Modifius, many others, including quite a few independent projects. Now, we wish Sophie and James all the best in their new roles. I believe you interviewed James, Ian, a wee while ago when we were doing interviews.
Yeah, James, we did a meeting of minds a while back, and I and Ian Chandler played one of James's upcoming games on stream when we were doing a little bit of the streaming stuff during the pandemic as well, way back. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I think that game had some issues on crowdfunding and all sorts and didn't really come to fruition, but James has had a good few years. He's been working for Modifius for a little while, doing Fallout Factions, which is now out and about, and obviously is now joining Warcradle. So congratulations, Sophie and James.
Yeah, not to forget Needy Cat Games. That's where they have been running for a long time, and that's probably what people know from. Now, this leaves me to talk about jobs, opportunities, and events. We always point everyone to the Facebook group Tabletop Jobs, where there's lots of opportunities. I keep seeing posts on there around the world, mainly in the UK and US, but have a look there. Lots of opportunities there. And of course, from now on, we'll be promoting Tabletop Scotland, which runs from the 6th to the 8th of September at the Royal Highland Centre in Edinburgh. I know that a couple of people will be present there. Do you want to talk about that now, Ian, Jamie?
Yeah, we're going to be there. Jamie and I will be there. Hopefully, Ian Chandler will be there as well, previous podcast host. We are running the pub quiz for CERN, and we're probably going to be involved in some hosting of some of the other talks at the moment, but we're still talking to the organisers about that. We'll definitely be around on the show floor doing some interviews and that kind of thing, as we did at Expo. We hope to see a lot of you there. And Jamie will be there, and we hope to see a lot of you there, play some games, and just have a good time. It's going to be literally around the bypass from my house. So, Jamie's going to be staying with me, and I'm sure we're going to have a laugh. Tickets on sale now, so do go and check that out and get your hotels booked.
Yeah, because it's going to be a good time.
Yeah. We'd just like to take a moment to give a shout out to our patrons, especially our executive producers, Kevin Bertram from Fort Circle Games, James Naylor from Naylor Games, and Shaun Newman from the Game-a-lot team. Thank you so much for continuing to support us at that level. You can join them for just $1 a month on our Patreon. You get access to a little bit of exclusive sort of forward-thinking articles, we call them, where we show you what's going to be coming up on the site and talk about what the team have been up to behind the scenes. And there are various other ways to support us on the site, including direct cash donations, and we've got a couple of affiliate links as well. for a place called Fanroll that does dice and dice accessories and that kind of thing. They're mostly based in the States, but you can get a wee bit of discount from them. And any of the RPG articles we put out tend to have affiliate links for Drive-Thru RPG, where we get a little bit of money, which we'll use to buy RPGs to review in the future. So do go and check those things out.
Did you say dice?
Yeah, dice. The 6-sided things, 10-sided, 12-sided. Those things.
Jamie has some information on dice.
I do. First of all, Ian, out of all those ones you just mentioned, 10-sided dice is not a natural polyhedron. So that was...
Yeah, I know. And you would know that if you'd been part of the Tabletop's Colin Pub quiz last year.
I mean, also no, because I think only 1 or 2 teams actually got the answer because we did it so vaguely that what do all these have in common apart from a D10? And everyone went, it was used in Dungeons and Dragons or role-playing games. We went...
There were some really great answers to that question.
Yes. But yeah, anyway. In the push for new games, it's sometimes easy to forget the origins of our hobby. Go back so far, almost to the beginnings of human civilization. But we're going a little bit closer to our time. In a castle in southern Germany, evidence of games from the medieval period have been unearthed. The castle is located in the Reutlingen district of southern Germany's Baden-Württemberg region. How was that, Oliver?
No, that was good.
That's pretty good.
The finds include a 6-sided die, pieces resembling flowers, and a chess piece. Jonathan Sheshkovitz of the State Office for the Preservation of Monuments in the local area said,
in the Middle Ages, chess was one of the 7 skills that a good knight should master. It is therefore not surprising that known finds mostly come from castles.
And it's thought these pieces were played with as they showed evidence of having been handled. Now, the pieces will go on display in 2 exhibitions in the region and are also available to view online in a full 3D rendering.
But they aren't available on Fanroll, just to say.
But not available on Fanroll. Not yet. But I think it's always, as I said, it's really good to see like medieval pieces, gaming pieces, because again, it speaks to how long we have been playing games as a species. In the Tower of London, I remember taking pictures of when I was down there a year or 2 ago. There is a chess piece from about 1200. There is also what is assumed to be like an early backgammon piece, or a backgammon piece. But again, they've been warped, age, and being handled, so you don't know what the chess piece actually was. And apparently, like, I think it was medieval jesters or bards would incorporate chess puzzles as part of like songs and poems and stuff.
Yeah, and Tim Clare, who's a friend of mine, gave a talk at Aircon about sort of the history of playing cards, which was really, really interesting. And just a wee plug for Tim's book, because it's really important that you get sort of pre-orders for this kind of thing. He's got a book coming out called The Game Changers, which is how playing games change the world and can change you too. So a sort of history of sort of board games and card games across the world that I'm really looking forward to. I pre-ordered a copy, and if you'd be interested in that, please do go and pre-order a copy from your bookseller of choice, because that can sort of make or break a new book coming out. And Tim's a really nice guy and deserves the attention.
So going from medieval times all the way back to the modern world. If you have liked what you've listened to, the best way to help us out is to share this podcast and drop us a review and rating on Spotify. Now, you can also follow us on tabletopgamesblog.com, which is Oliver's website. We've got a Discord where we chat things, and you can help us, dissemble news and bring us news and talk to us. We're nice people, I promise. We're on Blue Sky and Instagram and Facebook. We are Giant Brain, or The Giant Brain. I'm on Twitter. I think, Oliver, I don't know if you're still on Twitter.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, we're both on Twitter. Ian is not. Ian is on Blue Sky. I'm on Blue Sky as well. Our website is giantbrain.co.uk. If you want to see some of Ian's reviews, listen to some more archives of the podcast, and some more stuff that we get up to. And our email is giantbrainuk@gmail.com. If you have anything you'd like to let us know, please contact us. If it's something to do with news, we guarantee full anonymity. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Hope you look after yourselves. You take care. We'll speak to you soon.
See you soon. Thank you. Bye.